I don't know how to like summarize the story because yay, your girl was going through it. Anyways, hi, beautiful sunflowers. Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but what I call you has changed. Because of Buhle. Well, she inspired the whole thing, and then it turns out people actually want to be called sunflowers. So, hello, sunflowers, and welcome to another video. Hold on. So I've been wanting to do a story time, but I just don't know which one of my whole stories is interesting enough because there are a lot. But then I decided, let's talk about toxic workplaces. Why don't we? So, a lot of you might not know this, but I used to work as a technical producer at a youth radio station here in Johannesburg. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say names, but I'm going to write it out here. And then when you read those letters, what they say with your mouth is the name of the radio station. Okay. Okay, what happened was when I matriculated, I couldn't go to varsity and stuff like that because times were tough and tough times were lasting, honey. So yeah, I had to go back home and whatever. And then eventually my grandmother was like, no, you have got to go back to Joburg and just like try this shit out one more time and see what happens. So I came back. And then, yeah, I've always been a radio person. Like, I remember in high school, my friend and I used to love Dineo and Bougie's show on this radio station. I just gave it away now. So, yeah, and then we just like imagine ourselves having a radio show. And yeah, so I think in my subconscious, this is what I was manifesting, right? But obviously when you're in school, you're made to study all these things that have nothing to do with like creative the creative industry and stuff like that. So I didn't even know where I'd start if I wanted to get into radio. So it's not even something that I like pursued. And then anyways, fine, I come back to Joburg. I'm listening to the radio, this specific radio station, because yeah, I liked it. And then, sorry, I was just looking at a text. And then they were advertising the Y Academy, and I was like, okay, we can try this out. And then I went to a friend's house, and he helped me with the application process, and I applied. And then I got called for an interview, and I went for an interview. It was disgusting, honey. I was crying all the way home. I got home and I just like cried, and I had just used my last money for this interview, and I just felt like it was shit, and like I was distraught. But anyways, after a few days they called me and they were like, oh, we just wanted to let you know that you made it. And I was like, word. Anyways, they're like, yeah, send stuff through. I sent them, and then yeah, I was there for like 6 months, and we were learning basically the ins and outs of radio, shadowing the different departments and stuff. But what happened with me is that the first department that I went to was copywriting, which I loved, right? And then I went to, was it news? I think my second department was news, which I also fell in love with. And then after that, I went to technical, and that's where I just never left. So yeah, I would chill there with the guys because it was just guys. And then yeah, one of the people who was the senior technical producer at the time was just like really nice to me, and I'd ask questions. I'm a very curious and inquisitive person, so I would like ask questions. So what are you doing here? How do you do this? You know what I mean? And he'd like tell me all these things, and then this one time he's like, okay, tell me what you know about the stuff that I've taught you. And then I gave him all the answers, and then he was like, oh damn, actually you've been listening. So then after that he decided to let me try out a few things. And then he was like, okay, there's help for you. So yeah, for the rest of my time as an intern, I chilled in the technical booth, just like shadowing this guy and learning from him. And then eventually, the academy ended, and yeah, it was just like back to zero. I stayed at home, I was unemployed. And then it was, yeah, I think it was nearing April. No, it was in April when the academy ended. And then this other guy who's friends with the guy who was helping me learn got a show on a Sunday, like very late on a Sunday. I think it was from 9 to 12 or 10 to 12. And then it was a musical show that just had a lot of elements to it, that it needed a lot of audio and technical support. So he was like, how do you feel about doing this and whatever? And I was like, you know what, I'd love to, but obviously it's at night or whatever. And then but then I was like, you know what, this might be my chance. So I'd literally go to a I almost said it. I'd literally go to Z, place of work, on Sunday evenings. And then yeah, I'd wait till it's time for the show. We'll do help them with what they need help with. And then obviously everyone would leave and go home, and I'd have to sleep there, wake up Monday morning and go back home. Like this happened for quite some time. I mean, it sucked that, you know, I had to go through that, but it really helped me because it was good practice and stuff like that. And then yeah, and then eventually one of the guys who was working there as a technical producer already resigned, right? Like I bumped into him and he was like, oh, I just resigned, and yeah, I spoke to our manager about you. And then I really didn't think he was serious, because I didn't feel like any of those guys took me seriously, because one, I'm a girl, two, I didn't even study this shit. So yeah, it was just like a lot of imposter syndrome there. And then yeah, I actually did get called in by the manager. And then he was like, yeah, I'm gonna try you out for like 6 months. Firstly, because it was just convenient, because I was already there. I had gone through the Y Academy, so I had already learned the station's way of doing things, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it was convenient, and also it would give them time to then try and find someone else while there's someone else working, because I guess like it's quite a rough industry. Cool, that was it. My shotnyana breaking, I guess, start working. Yo, I was working on weekends, right? Hey, it was hectic, because obviously I'm starting out, still making mistakes and stuff like that. Things are going wrong, I don't know how to fix them because I'm new to the job. And it was just like hectic. The people whom's shows I was working on at the time were just like not really nice to me, and I'd be crying all the time. And then I spoke to my manager and he was like, bitch, fucking cut the cameras with those tears. No crying, get it together. I'm the one who hired you, so if anything goes wrong, you talk to me. If there's anyone who's allowed to shout at you, is me. And I also won't be doing that, because I understand that you're new to this and whatever. Just like being very affirming. Cool. And then sharp, that was it. I ended up getting used to it, and yeah, I worked this shift 3 to 9 on Saturdays and Sundays, 3 to 9 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays, which means again I'd have to sleep at work on Saturdays and Sundays, because I lived quite far and there was like no transport kana in Obusiku. So that was it for like a year or so, and then I moved on to the next shift, which was 9 to 3, which was nice because then now I can go home. But how it's structured is that there is, well, when I was there, there's like 5 people who are doing tech, right? So 3 of them are during the day and 2 are on weekends. And then so the person who's been there longest, which is the senior technical producer, will do the morning shift, and then whoever follows after that person will do the drive, and then the other person will do the weeknights, so just like evening to midnight. And then it's the 2 weekend people who are doing morning and afternoon to night, basically. And the only way for you to move from one shift to another is if someone else leaves, right, and you're moving up. So sort of like in a hierarchy type of format, which I guess works because you are giving the big shows to the people who've been there longer, who have experience. But I think for me, what happened is that I started feeling stuck in like one position. And like, I'm really, really young, guys. This was my first job, and already I feel like there's no room for growth for me. Like, unless someone else leaves, I'm going to be doing weekends for the longest time. But then there was movement, and now I started doing nights, né? Yeah, aside from like shitty organization culture, it's just like toxic, it's sexist, it's racist. It was just like there was a lot that is happening in the background. But also because I work on weekends, that didn't really like quite affect me. And then yeah, until I started working nights, and now I'm working with like people who are there every day, and like some people just are not nice to work with. And also because the people who are on air are like these stars, right? And you are just like the person in the background. The power dynamic there makes the environment quite toxic. So yeah, aside from like feeling like there's no room for me to grow, the politics of the organization was also just like not affirming of me, and the values of the organization didn't align with my values and stuff. So there was just like me, like when I started working there, I was so excited because it's literally all I've ever wanted. So it was a nice full circle moment for me. But you know, when you just now start to realize, shit, like this is not what I thought it would be. And I'm also like growing. So as I grow and change, I start to like not fit in even more. And yeah, just like a lot of stuff like that happening. And the person who hired me left, so now someone else was my manager, and I had to deal with someone who doesn't know me, and also someone who does not know the job that we do, right? And their focus is just on the people on air, so just making sure that their stars look good and they sound good and stuff like that, and completely neglecting everything else that happens in the background. So there's also like not that good support from management. Also just made the environment like really shit for me. Poor equipment, like you'd come in at work and this is not working, tomorrow this is not working, like just like feeling like what you do is not prioritized, and yet you are expected to like deliver, you know. So yeah, stuff like that just like started really messing with my job satisfaction and how I feel about the environment. And then my mental health took a knock. Like I was on leave literally all the time, like because it was either I'm at hospital or I'm just not like feeling well enough to be at work. So yeah, I take annual leave because I just didn't want to be there anymore. And when I was there, my productivity was just not like, yeah, it was just not cute anymore, guys. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but it was not cute. I did not want to be there anymore, but I had to be there, right? Because it was the only job I could get. Like it, yeah. So I had to stay because I just have to survive. I don't have any other options. If I leave, it's literally back to zero for me. And I felt like I had come so far in my life that I just couldn't go back home or just like not be employed anymore, because for me that really meant like struggle. So I was just like, okay, we're gonna hold on until last year. Yeah, so literally what I had told myself, that 2019 has to be my last year at that place, and I didn't know where else I'm gonna go, because it's also quite like discouraging when the people who've been there before you are still there, right? Like people had been there for like 10 years and stuff, and it was just like, yo, akuhambeki la, like you're literally stuck there. And everyone just felt like, yo, there's nowhere else to go and stuff. And also on top of like all of that, right, the money just was like not good enough. And which also sounds weird for me to say as someone who's gone from having nothing to now having a permanent job with a stable income in medical aid and all that stuff. I just felt like what I was going through and what I was put through did not match all the incentives and just like how I feel about the space that I'm in. So yeah, when Carissa and Sibu, well, I used to work on their show as well, and that was literally the only time that I felt like, yeah, I'm happy, you know what I mean? Which was good. That was in 2018. So at least that year I felt like, oh my God, this is fine, because I'm working with decent people. We are holding each other's hands and we're helping each other through this. Carissa is new to Joburg, kinda, but they're both new to the environment. And it's just, you know, helping each other through. And yeah, it was a good year. It really was a good year for me. And then they left, and now I had to like work with other people, and yeah, it just started being different. And then I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. Because also like it's very easy for you to experience something, nah, on your own. It seems like no one else is going through what you're going through, and it really feeds into your imposter syndrome. But also when I started like talking to other people more and realizing that I'm not the only one who's not happy in this environment, it just took the unhappiness to another level. Because then for me, it just confirmed that, oh my God, this place actually is shitty. Like young people are being taken advantage of, we're not being treated well and all that stuff. And nahek justice warrior, I don't want people who are messing with other people's lives and well-being. So I just got pissed with the whole situation, and yeah, eventually I just started applying for stuff. And then last year I applied for the GC fellowship and I got it. But then what made me not be able to leave immediately was that the fellowship was only going to be for a year, and I felt like it wouldn't make sense for me to leave a permanent job for something that's only gonna last for a year. Again, it was just like imposter syndrome, just feeling like, yeah, and then the fellowship is gonna end, and then what's gonna happen, and then you're back to square one. So I battled this feeling for quite some time until eventually I was like, fucking cut the cameras. I cannot be there anymore. Like I couldn't be there anymore. And also it was exhausting, guys, trying to juggle two jobs, like having a 9 to 5 at GC, and then when I knock off I have to go to YFM. It just started becoming way too much, and I was like, I had to be honest with myself about whether or not it's worth it. And I was like, it's really not worth it. And I was like, I felt like I had found myself at GC in the work that I did there. And I felt like the 4 years at YFM had laid a good enough foundation for me to be able to find my feet after leaving them. Ooh, I did. I said it. It is what it is. But yeah, so eventually I resigned and it felt so good. Oh my god, there is nothing that tops the feeling of walking away from an environment that just made you feel shitty about yourself and that was just like toxic. I can't explain it to you guys. Nike kloa, nikile. Hey, baby. No batshele. Yeah. She's faking it. But basically I was really happy. Like for a few months I was just like, yo, I'm so relieved. Like even the stress of like getting a new job didn't kick in until like late towards the end of like 2019. But yeah, for the longest time after leaving them, I was just like, this feels amazing, honey. And yeah, I really wish that feeling for everybody else. Like no one should be stuck in a job that makes them not feel good about themselves, like to the point where you even doubt your ability to do your job because you're just unable to perform like at your best. Which is also another thing that I felt like I just couldn't take anymore, is that I have invested enough in my knowledge of what I do, and yet I still feel like I'm put in situations where my knowledge of what I'm doing is being tested, and I just didn't appreciate that. And that constant feeling and the constant void for validation as a young woman in that position just did not feel nice. And yeah, I started like doubting myself, and it affected my productivity and my deliverance of my job, and I did not want that. So I was like, Yazin, before this gets any worse, let me tap out. And I did, and it was honestly the best adult decision I have done so far in my life as a young adult. And yeah, I'm proud of myself for taking that step regardless of like uncertainty and stuff, because guess what, I have found my feet and I am okay, and I did find a job. That's good. And all that stuff that I was worried about, and all that stuff that had stopped me from leaving that place as soon as I had wanted to, worked out. It really all worked out. So yeah, I hope that this story has been somewhat helpful for you if you're stuck in a situation that is making you unhappy, regardless of what it is. I also will acknowledge that I am definitely at a point of privilege. Not everyone is able to leave a job and then soon after get another one. Like, I'm absolutely not gonna sit here and act like this is normal, especially in our country. I know that the reality for a lot of young people is quite the opposite of what I went through, and I feel very blessed, and I'm very grateful for how things turned out for me. But I also really want everyone to have the courage to leave situations that don't serve you and that don't affirm who you are and the value that you bring to that space. And that's why I am telling this story. Yeah, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'll see you next time, and hopefully I'll have a juicy story to tell, because this was just me venting about what I experienced. But you know what, my platform, what you gonna do?